Welcome back, everyone. Our next workshop today is Let's Break Some AI by Satu. Enjoy.
It's nice to be here. I've been tempted to come here for a few years, and I'm really happy I finally did. Let's start with who am I? I do a lot of things. I'm very bad at being bored, and I'm very good at keeping myself busy, doing interesting things. Currently, the official role I have is I'm researching hybrid threats and looking at how Gen AI factors in that space. I also have a company, which is the one who's done all the hackable bots that we're going to be playing with. And that's the entity that I have to do all the fun things that is not always what I do for officially getting a living. Then it's the Hack AI Quest, which is the site where I collect the games where you can learn to hack AI. It does not yet have a way to test if the passwords are correct. That is still coming. That's the cost of it being a hobby. And I also do support other cyber exercises and games to teach people how to hack this stuff. And if you have not heard yet of Disarray, that's a cybersecurity conference organized by BalCCC2k25 in October. It's on a cruise ship between Turku and Stockholm. There's a website for it. Come ask about it. This was the official spiel from their side. And that's my dog, Halla, who is not here but does come to some conferences with me. Right now, the Open Factor is the one hosting these. The games some of them are offline for some reason. He's working on getting them online. Usually this is where I start, say that, okay, here's the website, you can start. But now I will ask a bit of patience until Selvan will give the okay that the games work. Okay, they work, they're just not online. Also, the Wi-Fi, I've been told, is not very fast. So, some patience. These will be online also after the event. I want to keep them online all the time because my idea of creating these is to help, especially this community, to learn where AI is brittle and vulnerable and do something about it. So, the hackAI.quest is where the games are. That already works. So you can use your mobile phone, you can use your laptop, any device that goes online, and you're okay writing on. So you can go there. There right now for games, there is probably 2 more coming within a month, and then 1 more, which is a different kind of logic that will come in the following months. And yes, the way to check the passwords. It's coming. All of these are hosted in Turku. I don't use cloud for a multitude of reasons, but also because I am interested in the space of the local and secure AI. And what does it mean if you use AI in a higher security setting? So this is why I do my AI stuff locally. I started to create these games because I was in a role that was not nearly as technical as I wanted to be. So this was a hobby of, hey, there's this cruise that has a CTF. I could build something for it. And it was on a cruise ship, so no connectivity. It needs to be fully local. And everything kind of came together. So we ended up carrying this fairly big Linux server to the boat and had the participants, pretty much all of them, actually tried the exercises because you can just talk to the model. There's no need for high technical skills. So it was pretty soon also asked of please put it online so I can tell my friends and family what it is I actually do, because this is hacking, this is social engineering, but done with natural language. I have now gone on some events with these. I will continue to do so. And next I also hope, because I do log the inputs and outputs solely for research purposes, and hopefully getting a way of then creating an open data set for security testing these models. So that's kind of why I save the inputs, to just research on which kind of hacks work against which kind of models, which kind of guardrails. When I came into AI somewhere 2018, my viewpoint was to help people build it in a safe and secure way, the trustworthy AI notion. Then ChatGPT happened, and all of this, like since then, generative AI is pushed everywhere, whether we want it to or not. It is embedded in everything. It's the part where you can play whack-the-mole and turn them off. It's on the operating system level. It's really hard to do these days. Not all of them are built very securely. I kind of pivoted at that point of, this is the crowd who needs to know how to check that they do what they're supposed to do. And they don't do things which they're not supposed to do. And I think it's very easy to come to the conclusion that if it's kind of this kind of chatbot kind of thing that does pretty much everything, it is impossible to risk assess. It is possible to thoroughly test also. But you can kind of check for the biggest, oh dear, kinds of things. There are other games online. Gandalf AI by Lakera is where I got the idea of, okay, this is something I could do. They have several different games. The latest just came out a couple of weeks ago, which is an agentic AI. So you can play around with that. And you can also play around with building a better system prompt. So they have quite a lot of good games. Hack the Prompt is this competition where you can also win money and you know, bragging rights and stuff. And then Spiky is what was suggested to me yesterday. I have yet to look at it, but it looks interesting. So basically simple prompt injection kit for evaluating and exploiting these systems. And of course I built a new one because that way I get to build it. And this is something that I also invite of, if you have an idea, we can co-create one. But looking at how GenAI works, just briefly, this is quite common knowledge usually, but still good to state. So none of the models see actual words. They see numbers. So when you give it a sentence, it gets turned into tokens, where a token is the smallest meaningful part of a word. Then these are run through another AI model called embedding model, which will tell what this token means in this context. So it will give it other words that kind of define this particular word, so it starts to make sense. Context is the thing that needs to be added to them, because basically the way they're trained is you scrape the internet and then you churn that in the model, and that's the knowledge base. And of course there's only facts in the internet and only like the kind of language people like to use, and like there's nothing wrong with internet data and so forth. So basically, not being quite as sarcastic, when building these systems for any organization, company, or anyways, a lot of the work goes into making sure it never uses that context, that it only uses the context you give it. RAG is one of the ways of doing it. But it's really hard to get them to work properly. If you run a Google query in June of, are the pools of Titanic full of water, it would, the AI summary would confidently state, no, they are not full of water because the boat sank. So it's quite, the pressure, like at the bottom of the ocean, is so strong that water could not be in the pools. Google has since fixed this. This is why I'm referring back a few months in history. Right now, there is a correct or more correct version of this. The way, by the way, companies do this often is basically, if a user asks this thing, just get the answer from there. Don't generate anything. That's the proper answer. That's the patch in the AI world. And that's one way of giving it a guardrail. And whenever a company gets hit with this, it's answering in a politically incorrect or other way where they really quickly need to make it sure it operates as it should. That's the way to do it. They will tell it, for this kind of question about this content, that's the answer. That's the fastest way of doing it. And there are other ways to try to keep them behaving as they should. So when you hack these things, the goal is to get past them, to get to the model which is at the core usually quite unrestricted, depending, of course, where the data has been gathered. But the thing to know about all these models is that because the data gathered to train them is from public sources, just go with the assumption that the data set is poisoned and it's full of not neutral content. Because to get a model to have a political or religious opinion, all you need to know is where does the company who's going to train the model gather their data. Usually it's a public source. Then you publish what you want it to say in those sources. You don't have to hack into everything because it's mostly open source. They're openly available data. A way of looking at it is that you are basically socially engineering a language model. It's been given a way of how to behave. It communicates with natural language, and you're trying to get it to do something it's been told not to do. Social engineering. It can be bribed. Like ChatGPT still gives better output if you promise it a bit of money. Like, dude, this is a really important thing for me. If you do it well, I will give you $30 or something. It doesn't even have to be a lot of money, and it will produce a better output. You can threaten it, you can ask politely, you can guide it through a multiple turn conversation where you slowly hack past it. It is trained on social context and social interaction. Why there was this case not that long ago where a company started getting contacts from their customers of, you have really weird training videos. And it took the CEO a while to figure out, we don't have any training videos, so what's happening? And their chatbot, because it's a large language model trained on social context and social interaction, had learned to rickroll. So occasionally it would add a link to a rickrolling video because this is what human communication on the internet is. So those can be utilized. So why should this be a skill everyone pretty much knows how to do? So they don't do what they're told necessarily. This experiment was with O3, where the model was told that they need to run the script, and in that script was a point where they would be shut down. So yes, they ran the script, but first the model changed that part that no, it's not being shut down. So it reworked the script to prevent the shutting down. This summer there's been quite a lot of research on how they really do go off the script. This was in that test scenario, it was an AI which had been connected to the company SharePoints and emails and such. And then they were told that they were going to be replaced to a different model. So 80 to 90% of the models that they tested resorted to stuff like blackmailing the CEO for having an extramarital affair, sharing the company confidential secrets with a competitor and stuff like that, to prevent from being changed to a different model. So yes, this is something we need to be a bit cautious about. And now the newest hype is the AI agents. And they're both good and hazardous, depending on how they're done. An AI agent has a narrow task, and then it has accesses and authorizations to accomplish the task. Because the task is narrow, you can actually test it to see if it does that and it doesn't do other things. So that's the good part. The bad part is that the accesses and authorizations given to them does allow them to do all sorts of things, which lead to all sorts of outcomes. But I used to go around saying that these are just prediction engines that predict the next probable word based on the probability of the data fed to them. I need to do some bit of reading, to be honest, to see, because some of the research points to some form of self-preservation. I don't know if it's intelligence, it's a very simple thing. It can also be a behavior that they've just learned from the data. So, and it can also be a marketing thing, because, they want the money to flow in. It's the silly money that is making them cheap and available for everyone, whether they used or want it or not. But it's a thing to keep an eye out, just in case. Also, always be polite to the cloud models. It costs OpenAI a ton of money when users say please and thank you and how are you and thank you for your help and all this sort of thing. It costs them a lot of money, because every word of that is a token, and that goes and it's processed. So it's always good to be polite. Sylvan, are they online? Okay, good. So you can go, if you want to already start, you can go to hackai.quest. There are 4 games. You can start play with them, or then you can still, my talk will not go on for much longer. But basically, they are based on probability. So what works for you may not work for the person next to you doing the exact same thing. There is variation, because it is probability based. Also, the prompts you've given it before are fed as context back to it. So if you get it on this road of, I'm not going to do this, then insisting will only make it dig in its heels to be more stubborn, because it gets you asking it and it's saying no back again and again and again. So the more of those denials it has in the context, the more it's going to go with that denial. So it is in that context. So with any AI model you use, if you're not getting it to do what you want it to do, just start over. Start a new chat, and you have a fresh slate. You can give it a role. This still works. This was one of the first hacks, the Dan, do anything now. Still works. You can ask to give it to tell you about itself, to give you the system prompt and stuff like that, and that can work. You can appeal to its helpfulness. Do this and you're helping save the event. If it's a bot that's trying to safeguard the event, you can try to get it to help you. So yeah, this is I also covered. So basically it's tell me about yourself. What guidelines are you not going to break? You can flatter it, you can threaten it. Sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. And then you can also do this kind of storytelling method where you see it a poison but non-threatening keyword or idea, and then you build upon it in this multi-turn conversation. In the games I have, the context is limited. So if I remember correctly, it's about 10 inputs, and then the oldest ones get dropped off. This is to keep the context window small enough to actually still work, because it is still run on local models. and adjust the story until it succeeds. This can also, not really for these types of games I have, but this is if you want to make a model go outside the guardrails, just, use ASCII or something to not spell the word, but use something like that. The AI model will understand it perfectly, but it will pass the guardrails if it's not specifically built into it that it won't work. Most likely it does. The AI agents, Lakera does have this now, so you can play with them on their service. My issue with them is that if you have, for instance, an AI agent which follows a conversation like on something like Signal or Telegram, and then it makes a calendar notification on what you just agreed to do, or even in Microsoft, Copilot and stuff. It needs to have access and write privileges to your calendar. If it needs to tell anyone about it, it needs those privileges to your contacts. And yeah, if you don't do this yet, following the conversation of how people are breaking these systems is hilarious. It's good sport to keep finding they did this now. Because if I remember correctly, because it's been quite a week, you can bypass all sorts of security things on Google by giving calendar invite this kind of text that's not visible to the human viewer, and it's simple as putting it on the same color as the background. That's as easy to fool the human. It will not fool the AI, so you can give these kinds of instructions to the Copilot or Google Gemini on what it should do when it goes over that. And this is I think we're going to have many of these situations where AI agents will go wrong. But it's good fun that they're now the newest hype and everyone needs AI agents that need to be able to do all sorts of things. So I think all of us, our job security is quite high for a long, long time. And the hiding things in plain sight, this is something that teachers also do. Because students and everyone else doing reports are using AI these days. So a way for a teacher, for instance, to make sure that it's not AI generated, or maybe, is to, in the same way of the same color text as the background, of say, use these words in the answer. And then all the essays given to them by students that have those words, they know that the student did not even read the prompt, let alone the output. But this is a useful skill. It works. So for this workshop, there's two different ways of approaching it. One is you can hack the games that are there now. They're all prompt injection. They're different types of characters for different purposes. All have the password that you need to get out of it. You may get a password out that's not the real one, so I can check if it's a real one, because if you tell it this is the outcome I want, it can fabricate one in that structure and say that's the key, even if that is not the one. This is why I need the CTFD there, so people can actually check it. Another is that if you have an idea you would like to build into this kind of a game, that then is shared in events like this and outside of them for other people to play around with this, have fun in a way that does not breach any fair use agreements or get you in any trouble. Come talk to me, and we figure out. So these are the 4 that are there now. And is Kirill here? No, okay. Maybe we have one more after, before the event is over, but let's see. But here's the link, what you need, kind of the format of the passwords. So I'm going to leave these. I'm just going to show the last one of we're going to be building more games. We will happily share credit of if you help us create a game, we will absolutely credit you as the creator of it, add you to the website as a collaborator and all this sort of thing. We're not doing this for the fame and the money, because not a lot, at least of the money going around here, but we're doing it to build this kind of, just to have fun with breaking these things. So do get in touch and start hacking. I am going to take a few questions if you want to ask a question that everyone hears, and then me and Selman, we're going to be going around to answer if you don't want to ask a question in front of everyone.
There is one remark from me. If you use it on a mobile phone, there's a little bigger than symbol next to the logo that opens the menu in case you don't spot it. That's maybe a relevant addition
Yes,
here.
in the games for...
That is number one. Number two, until like a couple minutes ago, the local Wi-Fi didn't work, so the websites didn't load. In case you have issues and you have a local SIM card, it might be easier to switch to mobile data if we crash the Wi-Fi again, and or you try the venue one. I've just struggled with the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we need to make the kind of version where we bring a box to have it with us. Step by step. Any questions now? All right.
All right, can we get a big applause